Coach, it sounds like you got an energetic response, an emotional response from your team. What was it like out there tonight?
It was one of the most competitive atmospheres I've ever been in. It was neat to see as a head coach, because you always, when you come off a big game and a loss, you wonder how are they going to be. And I tell you what, they're a mad football team right now, which is really, really good. They came out ultra competitive. It was like a game today, and it was really neat to see from every phase, offense, defense, special teams. It was like we were playing today. I wish we could have played today. They're in a good frame of mind right now, ready to compete.
Coach, I've gone to several practices, and I know you don't promote, the extracurricular, the fighting and those types of things, because they're, teammates and brothers and all that kind of stuff. But in the back of your mind today, was it sort of good to see?
Oh, there's no question, because usually it's the other way. If you come out and they're lackadaisical or they're not wanting to fight, you go, oh, no.
Right.
And when they come out there and they're like, every play mattered, and it's a good thing to see. Like I said, I wish we could have played today.
The message from you is, hey, let's make this one game that doesn't define the season, doesn't make it or break it. So how do you keep the one game from trickling into the next game and onto the next?
Well, it's a mentality you got to have, and we kind of had it last year, and we got to do it again. It's really, you have to focus on this week. Win or lose that game, it didn't make the season, and didn't get us to our goal, which is a Pac-12 championship.
Right.
So you have to focus on this game and this moment against a really good Utah State team that was very impressive last week, in my opinion. So we're totally focused on them this week, and then try to go get this win and then move on to the next one.
Psyche of the team, I mean, obviously this is the first time you've had to go through this kind of a loss, but, was there a difference in the way you addressed the team after the game to the approach that you took, today, starting a new week?
Yeah. Well, I told them, I said, what I was disappointed in or sad for our football team is their preparation did not compare to the performance that was out there, and that was the saddest part for me as a coach, is I know how those kids prepared, and it didn't show on Saturday. I said, we got to be one step and clear, one play and clear, and we've got to move on. We don't have time to sulk. And what I've told them out there in the team meeting today was, understand that this coaching staff is going to coach with every ounce of energy they got today, tomorrow, the next day, to win this football game coming up. And I expect the same from you. And obviously, they took it to heart today. They came out and did very, very well.
Listen, you played a great football team. You played against a great football team. So some of the physical things maybe you could expect were going to happen. How do you clean up the mental stuff? I mean, I know that's the stuff as a coach, I'm sure that it probably disappoints you more.
Yeah, that was the biggest part of it. Is we came back out Monday, and you have one of those games. I got asked the question, Coach, you just burn the tape and don't show. But no, that's not what you do. In my opinion, you have to show the mistakes so they don't come back again. As bad as it hurts and churns your stomach, you have to be able to show those. You have to correct them. We literally watched all the tape. We went out and walked through, exactly did the corrections that we needed, and then put it to bed and moved on to Utah State. But I think if you don't show what the issues were, then you're going to make them again at some point in time in the season.
Right. I know it's a team loss, and I know everybody sort of shares in the loss, but the offensive line, that was the one spot that we have a lot of returning players from a year ago that have played together a lot. If there was one advantage going into the game, you say, hey, look, we have continuity up front. I know you expected them to play better. What went wrong with that particular unit that they didn't play to the expectation we thought?
Yeah, we took turns on the offensive line, whether it was an assignment bust, it was usually just one guy. It wasn't multiple. It was just one guy, one play, whether it was an assignment bust or a physical bust, a physical beat. And when you play that good a front, you have two good fronts coming together. I really thought that Alabama's defensive front played up to their potential. We have a darn good offensive line, and I know they're going to be good. They're very well coached, and we didn't have our best day, and I know that it will get better because they are a talented bunch.
Yeah, we talked about earlier that the offensive line is almost like the central nervous system of the offense. If it shuts down, nothing else works. And is it almost hard for you to judge, be it the quarterbacks or the receivers or a lot of the other offense, just because a lot of those plays were never even getting started?
Yeah, when you're talking about being a pro-style offense, we're not going to throw it 100 times down the field. I mean, we're going to be a team that tries to be balanced, and our run game sets up the pass. And it's when you're not running the ball effectively, it makes it a hard day throwing.
Yeah.
And it was hard for the quarterbacks. I was impressed with both kids, keeping their poise, not making poor decisions. We had one interception that's off a receiver's hands, and that's going to happen to you in your career. But, just their poise and how they handled things and distributing the ball around and making good decisions is what you want to see. I know from the offensive line standpoint, they'll be fine. They'll be a mad group this week. They'll play well.
I know we're playing, it's Tuesday, so it's Tuesday evening quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the film, do you think you had the right game plan in place to beat them? From watching the game, like you said, it looked like there was a breakdown every, one guy every single play. But, if you had it to do all over again, would you go about it the same way?
Yeah, we tried to stay balanced. The one thing that I think that got a little bit away from us is, we kept on having the second and long, third and long. Anytime you look up and we've had 26 drop back passes, and I'm not just talking passes, but straight drop back passes, right. That's a hard day. We're a run play action team, and that we drop back on third down. And, we had more drop back passes than we normally have in a game, and it was basically by situation.
Right.
All right, well, we talked some offense here. We'll get into the defense. Then Utah State, his coach has a big game this Saturday, 11 a.m. breakfast at the Coliseum.